Let's see here. Lena, thank you for the $10 over on Venmo, saying everybody keep my mom's 22-year-old cat in your thoughts. He's not eating anymore and won't last long. Welcome in, Scotty. I'm so sorry to hear that, Lena. That's so sad. We love kitties here. Show some love to Lena down below. I'm so sorry that's happening to you. As well as Kristen. Thank you for the $50 donation over on Venmo. Show some love to Kristen, Christin, down below in that chat. Kristen says, sending some more love before I disappear again. Keep it up. I've been curious of your whereabouts. Hope that you're doing all right, Kristen. Thanks for popping in here today again. We love you. Show some love to Kristen down below in that chat. Let's get 500 Kristen W's. And take it away, Scotty. Tell us why you support the worst administration of either of our lifetimes, Donald J. Trump.
And why you think they're the worst? You know he's not the worst.
Oh, geez, there is so many reasons why I think that he is the worst president of either of our lifetimes. Where do you want me to start? He has some of the worst domestic policy. I mean, we haven't seen tax policy from any other president redistributing wealth from the poor to the rich and reducing the after-tax income of 80% of income earners. We haven't seen any other president try to call for the termination of the Constitution or coup/rig the outcome of a presidential election like he did and admitted to. I mean, his character is also terrible. I don't think we've had another president openly like a boast about perving on naked teenage girls or be held civilly liable for grape. So, yeah. And I mean, that's completely ignoring all of his foreign policy too.
Okay. And do you agree with, I feel like a lot of people have brought it up before, but with all the stuff he's done with trans and all that?
With all the stuff he's done with trans and all that. What
I'm talking about sports and just
right.
shutting down a lot of that whole prospect, that whole mentality. He's kind of brought back like the U.S.
See, this is the current position of the GOP. Everybody pay attention to what this guest is saying. I bring up the largest internal attack on the American democracy. He brushes it off. Let me finish speaking. Let me finish speaking. I bring up a redistribution of wealth from the poor to the rich. He brushes it off for this one reason. I bring up the fact that Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist, has admitted to and boasted about perving on naked underage girls. He brushes it off and ignores it for one reason. That one reason being the 12 trans women competing in the NCAA that Donald Trump has barred from said competition. This man does not care what Donald Trump does for the 350 million Americans in this country. Even if it is making the life worse of every single one of them, he doesn't care as long as he is also oppressing the 12 trans women in the NCAA. You would rather make the lives of the 12 trans women in the NCAA worse than you would rather make the lives of the 350 million Americans better. This is why we are now seeing Democrats win elections in Maine, such as the gubernatorial race for the governor's seat, where the Democrat ran on the agenda while my opponent is focused on who's in the potties. I'm more focused on filling the pot holes. This is very bad.
Hey, I was just bringing up that one fact. I didn't know you already splurge on that, but I'll talk about all the stuff going on in Iran. I don't agree with us attacking Iran. I don't get why we did it. I get why we did it, but I don't get why we did it.
Okay. So, I mean, if you don't support Donald Trump sending us back into war in the Middle East, how come you support Donald Trump as president?
Because, I mean, look at every other president. It's not like we haven't been put in the wars or
Biden and Harris didn't put us in any wars. They actually took us out.
They funded the war. We might have not been there as a country, but all of our funds were there.
So you think, A, sticking up for a humanitarian disaster of ethnic cleansing, and B, looking out for our national security because we would want to prevent Russian expansionism by giving humanitarian funding to the state of Ukraine, because C, we were contractually obligated to do so via an agreement that we signed with them in the 90s, is the same thing as Donald Trump dropping bombs on Iran and personally starting a war with another country. That is absolutely intellectually disingenuous of you. There's no comparison to be made.
Russia started the war?
I can't believe it at all.
You think Russia started the war over Ukraine?
Absolutely. They're the one that invaded Ukraine. Oh, so it's Ukraine's fault that they're getting ethnically cleansed? Tell me more.
It is.
How so?
If you look at the facts, if you actually dig deep and not just on a news channel level.
What are the facts? Tell me them, please.
About how Ukraine has been nagging and on Russia for a while.
Really? By doing what?
Yes. Doing all right. Shit.
Yeah,
No,
because they weren't doing anything. No, because the opposite is true. That's why you're gagged. Because the opposite is true. What happened in 2014 through 2018 when Russian insurgents annexed a region of Ukraine by the name of Crimea? Dude, Ukraine didn't even respond with any military force. They just said that it's still a part of. Shut up while I'm speaking, Scotty. They just said that Crimea is still a part of our country, but we're not going. We're going to seek peace. We're going to seek diplomacy. So we're going to let the Russians say it's theirs, but we're still going to say it's ours. We're not going to fight them back. Okay, we are going to maintain a level of diplomacy and peace. You say that that's nagging them on? Come on, bro. You've just fallen victim to Kremlin propaganda. But listen, man, I want you to have a legitimate opportunity to convince me and the other 23,000 people watching that what you're saying is true. So tell us how Ukraine started their own ethnic cleansing.
Wait, can you hear me now?
I sure can. Please tell us how Ukraine started their own ethnic cleansing.
All right. So I don't got. Yeah, you're gonna blow up after I say this, but I don't study the facts 24/7. I don't look them every day, but I remember I was looking at it for hours on end, and the specific facts were how. Oh, who's their leader? What's his name?
Zelensky.
Yeah. We sent what was the 400 billion over there?
Okay. Well, funding that we gave them after Russia started.
Yeah, no. I'm getting to that.
Doesn't mean that Ukraine started their own ethnic cleansing.
It's gonna tie into it.
I don't know. It can't because that happened after Russia started their invasion.
So you don't need to. Some of these comments be crazy.
I just want to clarify what you're trying to convince us of. So I mean, we know
we
that
send over 400 billion. Right?
1 second, that's not even true. But so you're saying that Ukraine went and got some dog leashes from PetSmart and then went into Russia and put a bunch of Russian troops at the end of the dog leashes and dragged them back into Ukraine, put guns in their hands and told them to pull the triggers? Because I mean, the way that the war started was by Russia invading Ukraine, claiming their land as their own land, saying that they had a right to it as it used to be a part of the USSR. I mean, I don't see how anybody could conceivably hold to the position that this is somehow Ukraine's fault. So I mean, tell us. We need the specifics. We need the facts here. How is that Ukraine's fault that Russia decided to invade their country?
Russia was not trying to invade their country.
Putin disagrees with you. Putin disagrees with you. Yeah. So Putin in his sit-down interview.
Putin literally said he didn't even want to go into that war. Putin said if Trump was, his words, which this is fact-checked, I know this, if Trump was in office during this, the Ukraine and Russia war would have never happened.
Okay.
He said that. Right. He just said that. That is fact-based.
Because we should trust Putin.
You can search it up.
So how did Ukraine start the war?
Ukraine started the war. It was something with their border.
So what did they do, man? We need the specifics, Scotty.
They were pretty much fucking around with Russia.
What did they do to Russia? Be specific.
Fucking around with it.
What does that mean, Scotty? Okay, turn your fucking brain on, champ. Okay, give us the specifics. This Putin propaganda isn't going to get you anywhere. It's just the one thing I hate about the MAGA worldview that I just find to be so deplorable is the idea that you think you could construct reality based upon your preconceived notions, prejudice, or beliefs. Because you're basically saying that you just believe that Ukraine started the conflict, started the war, started their own ethnic cleansing with no reason at all, and now you're just trying to find any way to explain it, but you can't because it's just simply not true. No, Ukraine didn't start their own ethnic cleansing, and I thought that we all knew this, right? I thought that we all knew this. I mean, even people on the right will admit this, right? I mean, it's not often that we come across a Putin sympathizer to the extent of saying that Russia wasn't at fault and Ukraine started the conflict. This isn't even a belief held on the right on average, okay? And I don't like MAGA, so that's me being very, very kind right there when I say it. So, I mean, you're either going to tell us very specifically what Ukraine did to start their own ethnic cleansing, or I'm going to move on to the next guest, or you can move on to your next argument. But coming up on this live in front of 20,000 people and bullshitting the hell out of all of us, trying to rewrite history to make the ethnic cleanser the good guy is just not only wrong, but it's also weird, abhorrent, and very immoral.
Okay. So we'll go right back to that Ukraine. We the USA, specifically the Biden administration, has funded that whole war. Right? We sent over all the bombs, all the guns, all the tanks, and
so pointing out that the Biden-Harris administration, right, wanted to defend the victim of an ethnic cleansing via humanitarian. What do you say no to?
They're the ones who shot this war to a whole different level.
Okay, by weakening Russia and emboldening Ukraine. Well, you understand that if we didn't give them funding, the only way that the war could be not as bad would be because Russia would have had an easier time slaughtering the Ukrainians, ethnically cleansing them, pushing them out of their homes and stealing their land. Like basically what you're saying here is imagine that there was like a 20-year-old man that's beefed up trying to fight like a 5-year-old little boy. All right. And you're basically saying, well, like the US just sent like another 20-year-old man to help the 5-year-old little boy. And that made the conflict last for longer. And it led to more conflict in the region because it gave the victim more of a fighting chance. And basically what you're saying is that the US shouldn't have helped. We should have left them defenseless. We should have left them weakened. So then the conflict wouldn't have gone on for as long. And Russia could have had their way with Ukraine, taking their land and killing their people.
Okay.
Why do you support emboldening Russia? Like, because you understand that the argument you're suggesting right now only serves the purpose of A, making Russia look like the good guy, and B, making Russia stronger.
Right. All right. Well, like I said, it's not like this war, this whole battle in Ukraine just came out of nowhere in the last few years. It's been something that's been going on since, 2013, maybe earlier.
when Russia annexed a part of their country, when Russia aggressed them 10 years ago, Russia's been trying to take Ukraine from Ukraine for more than just 3 years.
That's the thing. That's what everyone's fed, that it's always been Russia on Ukraine. It's never just been Russia on Ukraine.
Who annexed Crimea?
That's just no.
No, tell me, who annexed Crimea?
Not Russia.
Really? Are you sure? Well, then how come the Russian Federation already considers Crimea a part of their country?
Because it used to be.
Oh, so they did annex it.
Because it used to be.
So you agree that they annexed it?
You can't annex something that was already yours.
Oh, that's right. No, that's so right, bro. Yeah, the Ukrainian people just have no right to self-determination at all. That's so true, right? They didn't annex it because it was already theirs. It belonged to them. We need to rebuild the USSR, right, brother?
USSR? No, we don't want the USSR. None of that.
That's what Putin said was his justification for the annexation of Crimea and the invasion of the rest of Ukraine. So, God, the checks are gonna stop. Wait, sorry, bro. The checks are gonna stop coming to you from the Kremlin now. You just threw the propaganda out of the window. Sorry, sir. Putin will not allow you to say that rebuilding the USSR is a bad thing. I think that you need to very swiftly take that back and apologize to the Kremlin at once.
Nah.
Comrade Scotty, please tell us. Comrade Scotty. So I just want to clarify, is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
Is it always wrong?
Yeah, Comrade Scotty. Is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
Comrade Scotty.
Comrade Scotty, is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
Circumstances.
So that's not an answer to my question.
That's what I'm saying. Like, certain circumstances, like, it's good.
So is it, so sometimes ethnic cleansing can be good. I can name one demographic of people that agree with you. Nazis.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
Well, you can even go all the way back to that. You can go all the way back to the whole World War II Nazi propaganda.
No.
No.
How many Jewish people died in the Holocaust, Scotty?
But listen, why did that
how many Jewish people died in the Holocaust, Scotty?
Not as many as they claim.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. Right?
But hey,
It's
what?
only
Hey,
the best
hey,
documented thing that has ever happened in
no.
human history.
Hey,
Did
and
you
who
know? Did
who
you
controls that?
did you know that there's not a single event that has ever happened at any point in world history that is better documented than the Holocaust? Yeah, we got Scotty the Nazi. Nazi Scotty's on the live, everybody. This is a Nazi, you guys. So that's why he was standing up for. He's a Nazi. That's what he is, everybody. This is a Nazi. Everybody, this is a Nazi, you guys. Hey, Nazi, feel free to unmute that mic for us.
No, you ain't even let me finish.
So what are your thoughts on
You
Hitler?
just mute me and then go off.
Oh,
You ain't even let me
well,
finish.
sorry, if ethnic cleansing isn't always wrong,
Hey,
then
listen,
muting somebody
listen.
in the debate certainly isn't always wrong either.
Why did World War II start?
What are your thoughts on Hitler?
No, can I asked you why did World War II start?
After you tell me what your thoughts are on Hitler.
It all depends what part of Hitler you talk about.
Overall, okay, yeah,
Listen.
we're not talking about the part of him that liked to paint pretty pictures, okay, when he was 20. So overall, what are your thoughts on Hitler? Let's hear it.
Obviously, I do not support Nazi or none of that. Obviously.
Okay. All right. So what are your thoughts on Hitler?
All right. Like I said, World War II. Why did it
No,
start?
what are your thoughts on Hitler?
I asked you first, then you muted me.
Buddy, do you think I give a fuck? Tell us
No,
what your thoughts
but-
on Hitler are.
Hitler, let's see. His whole reasoning behind it was, which was never documented. They try to hide, which if you really research, it was there. The whole reason that started was from Jews killing Christians.
So he was about to justify the Holocaust, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and kick the Nazi out. So for everybody that's curious, what he just said isn't true. I'd like to make sure I make that very clear. So no, the Holocaust did not start because Jewish individuals were unaliving Christian individuals. Okay, the Holocaust started because Hitler came to power and he believed in the Aryan race. Okay, and the Aryan race was determined via, I think, what is it, Iranian kings way back in the day. I don't know if that's a conceptualization of the Aryan race that Hitler held on to. But he basically thought that if the world would be a better place if we got rid of everybody that isn't a part of the Aryan race, and then he wanted to dominate the world. So I want to make sure that I make that clear that what he was saying was false. Okay, everybody. And now we're gonna move on because guess what? We're not gonna give any more airtime to Nazis. Okay, and Scotty was a Nazi, everybody. Let's go ahead and move on to the next guest.